John Bindon, born in 1943, in Fulham, London by the rancid Thames.
It was a sweltering July night in 1978, the kind that clung to the skin like regret. Outside the Ranelagh Yacht Club in Fulham, London, the air hummed with the low rumble of Thames-side traffic and the distant pulse of a city that never slept. John Bindon, 6 feet 2 inches, broad-shouldered, an actor known for playing gangsters and an enforcer who lived the part, stood in the gravel car park. He had come for a quiet drink with his girlfriend, 23-year-old accountant Arabella Lewis. A loaded .38 revolver lay under the driver's seat of his Jaguar, routine protection in his world. Inside the club, the evening had already soured. Bindon and Johnny Dark, a wiry 38-year-old South London gangster fresh from prison for GBH, traded words at the bar over a spilled pint. Bindon headbutted Dark first. Punches followed. Staff ejected both men. Outside, under the weeping willows, the fight reignited. Dark threw fists. Bindon later claimed he thought Dark had a knife. He didn't see one. A closed penknife was later found in Dark's pocket. Bindon pulled a 6-inch commando dagger from his boot. What followed was brutal and one-sided. 9 stab wounds to Dark's chest, ribs, and abdomen. Bindon took 4 slashes, one severing a tendon in his arm. Dark collapsed, dying on the gravel. Bindon staggered back into the club, blood soaking his shirt. "Call an ambulance, not the police," he told the barman. He refused hospital treatment, fearing arrest. Instead, he drove to a friend's flat in Barnes, where he stitched his wounds with fishing line and drowned the pain in whiskey. The headline screamed, "Gangster actor slays rival." The case became a media circus. Celebrity character witnesses, underworld whispers, and a verdict that split London. But who was John Bindon? A Fulham-born brawler turned screen-heavy. A man linked to the Crays and the Richardsons. A party trick legend who once balanced 5 pint glasses on his manhood for laughs and allegedly for royalty. This wasn't just a killing. It was the violent climax of a life lived on the edge of fame, crime, and myth. Welcome to Crime Pulse. If you're new here, hit subscribe and join our growing community digging into the UK's most dangerous criminal underworlds. Like, share, and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. Now brace yourself. We're about to descend into the life and legend of John Bindon, London's real-life gangster actor, a man who balanced a pint in one hand and a knife in the other. To understand the fatal brawl with Johnny Dark, we go back to the beginning. October 4th, 1943, in a bomb-scarred corner of Fulham, West London. The war ended in 1945, but its scars still smoked when John Dennis Arthur Bindon was born on October 4th, 1943. In a cramped council flat on the Fulham Gaskell estate, his mother, Ellen, a seamstress with Irish blood and iron will, delivered him while blackout curtains rattled against the windows. His father, Arthur, a taxi driver who gambled away wages and temper alike, was out driving the rubble-strewn streets. Ellen shielded John from both the lingering Luftwaffe echoes and Arthur's belt. By age 5, the boy was already outsized, tall, broad, a moving target on the bomb site playgrounds. Bullies came, fists answered. "I was always scrapping," he'd later recall in that gravel-thick Cockney growl. Petty crime followed fast. Sweets lifted from corner shops, bikes borrowed without asking. At 13, a string of thefts landed him in Borstal, the brutal youth prisons where rubber truncheons taught lessons and cigarettes bought silence. Released at 15, he stood 6 feet 2 inches, 15 stone of coiled muscle, face like a Roman statue chipped from Brixton brick. Day jobs, bricklayer's mate, labouring under scaffolding, paid the rent, but the streets paid better. Whitechapel's amateur boxing rings became his proving ground. Bare-knuckle bouts under sagging canvas tents drew blood and bets. He flattened South London hardmen for £20 a fight, earning nods from the Cray twins' scouts. Every knockout was an audition for the East End's razor and shotgun empire. By 1963, the swinging 60s had cracked London open like a bent safe. Carnaby Street shimmered with mods. Soho clubs pulsed to the stones. At 20, Bindon muscled in as doorman at the Scotch of St. James, the underground palace where music royalty mingled with villains. He bounced drunks off Jimi Hendrix, steered starstruck fans away from Mick Jagger, and, between shifts, performed his infamous party trick, balancing 5 half-pint mugs on his manhood. Laughter roared, 3 rounds flowed. They started calling him Biffo, for the fists, the charm, the sheer cheek. Glamour bit back. In 1965, a Soho pub fight left him with a slashed liver. Surgeons at Charing Cross stitched him up while plainclothes detectives hovered. He walked out undeterred. His brooding looks caught a modelling agent's eye. He strutted for Mary Quant, scowled on billboards selling Brute aftershave. Then, in a Whitechapel gym, a casting director watched him shadowbox. "You look like trouble," she said. "Ever thought of acting?" The gym call paid off. In 1967, Ken Loach cast him in Poor Cow, his first film role. Bindon played Tom, a cocky thief with a dangerous grin, holding his own opposite, Terence Stamp. Critics noticed, "Bindon brings the menace of the manor," wrote The Guardian. Overnight, casting directors had a new go-to heavy, tattooed, silent, ready to explode. The parts stacked up. 1970, performance. He beat Edward Fox bloody in a nude brawl alongside Mick Jagger. The scene a fevered mix of sex and violence. Director Donald Cammell later said, "John didn't act the Underworld, he was it." 1971, Get Carter. As a sadistic enforcer, he snarled at Michael Caine, "You're a big man, but you're in bad shape, with me." The line became gangster scripture. Off-screen, the typecasting wasn't acting. After the craze went down in 1968, Bindon freelanced for the Richardsons, South London's torture-happy rivals. He collected debts in Rotherhithe docks, ran protection in Soho clip joints, and, by his own later admission, moved hash from Morocco in any container that worked. Club owners who missed payments got the Biffo treatment, a headbutt that rearranged teeth. Yet the same man who cracked skulls charmed his way into Mayfair. In 1968, he began an on-off romance with Vicky Hodge, daughter of Baronet Sir John Hodge. She dragged the Fulham hardman to Belgravia dinners and Ascot enclosures. Lords chuckled at his cockney quips over brandy. Ladies blushed at the danger in his eyes. The temper never slept. In 1966, he was convicted of GBH with intent, smashed a man's jaw with an iron bar, served 3 years. In 1970, he glassed a punter in a Wardour Street pub, walked on self-defense. In 1972, he was charged with attempted murder after a Soho stabbing, pleaded down to ABH, 18 months inside. Then came September 1971, the Baker Street robbery. Thieves tunneled into Lloyd's Bank, cleared £3 million in cash and jewels, chattering over walkie-talkies about royal stuff. Tabloids screamed, "Princess Pick stolen." Rumour pinned the heist on snatching compromising photos of Princess Margaret, some said, possibly with Bindon. No evidence ever linked him. He laughed it off in pubs. "If I had those snaps, I'd be King of England." MI5 allegedly slapped a D notice. The story died. The shadow, though, followed him everywhere. By 1976, Bindon's world had tilted into territory no Fulham boy was meant to reach. His on-off girlfriend, Vicky Hodge, daughter of Baronet Sir John Hodge, had been pulling him into high society since 1968. In early 1976, she flew him to Mustique, the private Caribbean island owned by the Queen's cousin, Lord Glenconner. The island was a playground for the rich and reckless. Private villas, cocaine-dusted beach bars, and Princess Margaret's retreat. Margaret, then 45, was newly divorced from Anthony Armstrong Jones, chain-smoking, rum-drinking, and restless. One afternoon, during a lobster lunch at Basil's bar, Vicky urged Bindon to perform his infamous party trick. Shirtless and sun-browned, he balanced 5 half-pint mugs on his manhood. Margaret, tipsy on rum punches, clapped and laughed. Photos snapped that day show her arm linked through his on the jetty, his grin wide. That's all the evidence allows. Vicky Hodge later claimed a brief fling, a week of sun, sea, and maybe more. Bindon, in a 1989 interview, called most of it bollocks sold to the papers. Margaret herself told reporters in 1979, "I never met the man." Biographer Christopher Warwick noted only a genuine spark, flirtation, not romance. No diaries, no letters, no witnesses confirm anything beyond laughter and a trick. Palace security did take notice. An MI5 file flagged Bindon's Cray and Richardson ties, his 1972 stabbing conviction, and the Baker Street whispers. A discreet word was passed. Bindon left the island with a gold cigarette case, engraved, but the giver remains unclear. Back in London, he bragged in pubs. The press pounced. The 1971 Baker Street robbery was dragged up again. Walkie-talkie chatter about royal stuff had never mentioned Bindon. The photos in question were of Margaret with other men, not him. No D notice was ever proven. His screen career still climbed. By 1977, he was hired as bodyguard for Led Zeppelin's US tour. In Oakland, he assaulted a promoter's associate, not with a pistol, but fists, fired on the spot. In 1980, he was an uncredited thug in the Long Good Friday. Debts to loan sharks mounted. Acting jobs dried up. The Mustique myth, half true, half sold, followed him like smoke, and on a sticky July night in 1978, the wire finally snapped. July 8th, 1978. The Ranelagh Yacht Club was never Bindon's patch. Too many blazers, too much oak. He came anyway, with Arabella Lewis, his 23-year-old accountant girlfriend, for one quiet drink. Johnny Dark was already at the bar. 38, wiry, fresh off a GBH stretch, knuckles like old scars. No one agrees why they clashed. Bindon later mentioned a £300 debt. Dark's widow said they hadn't spoken in a year. Court records show no proof of any deal. It started inside. A spilled pint, a headbutt from Bindon, a return punch. Staff shoved both men out. In the gravel car park, under the willows, Dark swung fists. Bindon's first police statement. I thought he had a knife. I never saw one. A closed penknife was later found in Dark's pocket. Bindon drew a 6-inch commando dagger from his boot. 9 thrusts, chest, ribs, abdomen, heart. Bindon took 4 deep slashes, 1 slicing a tendon. Blood spatter on the knife handle matched Dark's wounds. Overhand stabbing, not defensive parries. Bindon lurched back inside. Ambulance, not the filth, he barked, then refused treatment. He drove to a friend's flat in Barnes, stitched himself with fishing line and whiskey, and by morning was on a flight to Dublin. From a Temple Bar bedsit, he rang Scotland Yard. I'm coming in. Self-defense. He landed at Heathrow in handcuffs, flashing a V sign to the flashbulbs. Charged with murder, he stood trial at the Old Bailey in November 1979. A loaded .38 revolver had been found under his Jaguar seat. Separated charge, but the jury heard. Prosecution, premeditated. He came armed. Defense, cornered man, honest belief. Bob Hoskins testified. John only fights when pushed. He'd met Bindon twice. Mick Jagger sent a short character note, drafted by PR. Witnesses wavered. The club had been hosed clean. After 6 hours, the foreman said, not guilty. Bindon whooped, hugged his brief, and shouted to the gallery, justice for the little man. The victory was hollow. Insurers labelled him uninsurable. Film offers vanished. He collected debts in Essex, binged coke in Maida Vale squats. A 1981 heart attack left scar tissue like another blade mark. In 1982, he married Arabella at Putney Register Office, a low-key shotgun affair. Fidelity lasted months. By the late 80s, HIV, most likely from shared needles in the squats, had taken hold. Rumours of a Moroccan hooker were tabloid fiction. By 1993, he was blind in one eye, skeletal, 49 years old. The end came quietly. On October 10th, 1993, in a modest Belsize Park flat, John Bindon died at 50. Pneumonia the official cause, AIDS the silent killer, contracted through shared needles in the heroin squats of the 80s. No headlines. A pauper's funeral followed. His gravestone in Putney Vale Cemetery simply read, John Bindon, beloved husband and father. Arabella scattered his ashes on the Thames, whispering, rest easy, Biffo. His son Adam, born 1983, grew up in the shadow. City banker by day, defender of the name by night. In 2018, he sued tabloids still peddling the Mustique myth. In 2022, he auctioned Bindon's Get Carter script for £5,000, donating every penny to Borstal reform charities. Dad was more than the fights, he told The Independent. He was charm wrapped in chaos. The legend refused to fade. In 1990, the crazed film name-checked him. By 1998, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels echoed his swagger. In 2002, Carlton's Real Crime dissected the life, truth, and tall tales blurred. By 2023, Greatest Heists, Pierce Brosnan narrating, revived Baker Street, teasing a Margaret Bindon angle. No proof, just smoke. Then in 2024, 10 Men, the lives of John Bindon packed the Edinburgh Fringe, mixing bare-knuckle truth with island gossip. As of November 2025, the whispers keep circling. A lost ledger in a Hampstead attic. Margaret's diary sealed until 2030. Essex police nodding to his era on Cray walking tours. The Baker Street Princess pics were never his. The Kensington Palace tease never happened. The Queen Mother's cease and desist is palace fiction. Yet the myth endures. Fists open doors, knives close them, as one old Cray associate put it. In Marbella bars and Essex lock-ins, his name still drops like a warning. John Bindon, gangster, actor, royal rogue, lived too large, died too soon, and left a story that refuses to stay buried. That's the full rise and fall of John Bindon, fact-checked, myth-busted, and laid bare. Thank you for watching Crime Pulse. If you made it this far, you're one of us now. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join the community digging into Britain's darkest underworlds. See you in the next one.